Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Poets and Quants' online MBA panel, the Online MBA Experience. Today, we're joined by program directors from three elite programs, SMU Cox, Purdue Daniels, and Florida Warrington. I'm your host, Christy Blyzeffer of Poets and Quants, and please feel free to use the Q&A function to submit any questions you have for our panelists. I'll do my best to get to those toward the end of the session. So let's begin by getting to know our guests. If you could each take a few seconds to introduce yourselves and your schools a little bit. And Hannah, let's start with you.
Thanks, Christy. Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Nosain. I'm the director here at SMU Cox and located in the heart of Dallas, for those of you who don't know. One just fun fact about the photo behind me is that we are in the process of building this building behind me. So in about 6 months, we're going to have a beautiful new campus. For those of you interested in online programs, such as most of you, we do have opportunities to come to campus, so you might see it. But yeah, located in Dallas, Texas, here at SMU Cox.
Thanks very much. Steve.
Yeah, hi, my name is Steve Bush. I'm the Senior Online Program Manager for the MBA here at Purdue University, located here in West Lafayette, Indiana.
Very good. Thank you. And John.
Hi, everybody. My name is John Gressley. I'm an assistant dean here at the Warrington College of Business at the University of Florida. And one of my primary responsibilities in that role is as director of our MBA programs. And so I'm excited to be here today to talk about all the opportunities to get an online MBA at UF, which is located in Gainesville, Florida.
Very good. Thank you all. And thanks for your time, as always. Well, we'll just dive right in and we'll start with Hannah, if you don't mind. Just give us a general introduction of your business school, the mission, the values, reputation, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So like I said, we're located in Dallas, Texas. SMU Cox just hit 100 years as a business school a few years ago. So we are well into a century here at Cox. The online MBA program is a little bit newer than that, but really we center all of our education around our three pillars of leadership, analytics, and experiential learning. So regardless of the classes that you're in, you will hit one of those three pillars at some point in the curriculum. And as we'll talk about as we go through the webinar here, you'll really find that our online MBA students have the same opportunities as all of our on-campus students. And so the offerings at SMU Cox are the same regardless of which program format you choose to partake in.
Very good. Thanks. And Steve.
Yeah, so Daniels School of Business, we're positioned within the globally renowned Purdue University, known for our STEM education. And, you know, what we aim to do here within our program is really ingrain a data-driven mindset within our students, really bestow analytical problem solving and technological innovation into not just our students, but the programming as well. Courses are very much collaborative. In fact, about 68% of the coursework that a student will go ahead and complete has some type of team-based component to it, where you'll be completing some type of group work. And really what that's doing is preparing our future graduates for the real world when they head out after they receive their degree.
Yeah, absolutely. John, tell us a little bit about Warrington.
Absolutely. So UFMBA is located here at the Warrington College of Business, as I mentioned, at the University of Florida. We are one of the strong colleges here at the university, positioned in the third largest state in the country and one of the fastest growing ones right now. And we, as a program, really do aspire to attract individuals that are looking to add value, provide leadership, and impact positive change in their organizations. When you're working at a big place like the University of Florida, you've got to have big ideas and ways to go about them. So we've been doing online for almost 25 years now at this point. We've got a huge student population across the board, and you get a lot of interdisciplinary opportunities as a result at the university level, and that has created opportunities for us to really look at how can we deliver our MBA experience regardless of location or modality. And so that online opportunity is the same as you'd get if you were doing any one of our other programs, and we're doing all sorts of interesting things in the AI space as we look to leverage one of the largest educational supercomputers in the country right now. And we're definitely looking at ways to make sure that students have a chance to interact with that and all the other experiential opportunities that the state of Florida offers to its graduates.
Oh, interesting. What an opportunity. Steve, going back to you, tell us a little bit more specifically about the online MBA at Purdue Daniels. When it was created, how long it generally takes, just some of those details.
Sure. So our program, we've been around since 2020. I always note when I say that, just because it tends to, trigger a few thoughts and memories that we might have of that time in our lives. The program wasn't a COVID knee jerk. It was a program that was in the works well before the COVID-19 pandemic. So learning outcomes, program infrastructure, course selection and curriculum was very well thought out and wasn't just something that was a reaction to the pandemic itself. We just happened to launch right at the start at that time. So we're a relatively young program. We're just coming up on our third year. We're 48 credit hours where students will engage in 4 foundational courses, 10 core courses, and then about 9 to 15 hours of program electives. And also all of that is going to be 100% online and asynchronous as well.
Oh, great. John, how about it? The online program at Warrington?
Absolutely. So we actually have 2 formats in our online MBA. We have a 1-year program that's designed for folks that have an undergraduate degree in business, and that's less than 7 years old, and then a 2-year program that's more of the traditional sort of 48 credit MBA experience. And so depending on where you're coming into your journey from, we have an opportunity for you to really jump right in to getting to know the concepts of business education. Most of the time, our program is cohort based and asynchronous. We have some opportunities there for students to kind of come and go and be flexible based on what their schedules look like. And that can be very friendly if you do a lot of traveling or if you've got military obligations or things like that. And so we really pride ourselves on having those opportunities to come in and to move through. But we've been doing this for a long time. We do have a core in basically all the concepts that we would expect in a traditional MBA. But our goal then is to give you the skills that you would need to do that critical thinking as an organizational leader or a manager, and to really to go deep on those ideas, because the idea is when you get an MBA, obviously you're going out there and you're going to be doing more management and more leadership than you would be doing sort of specifics in finances or accounting or something like that.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. And Hannah, how about at SMU?
Yeah. Similar to Steve, we are a little bit newer. We launched in 2019, and we were so thankful when the pandemic hit that we had just launched our program because it helped some of our on-campus formats as well. But our first cohort graduated in 2021, and really we've designed the program to be completed in 24 months. So students do have the ability to slow down and take longer if they want, but we have a mixture of core courses and electives. The electives can be taken on campus or continue online, but a lot of our folks who live in the DFW area do kind of like that opportunity to come to campus. And we do have a mix of asynchronous and synchronous work. So you will kind of meet live with a professor once a week with your classes and have that opportunity.
Very good. John, going back to Warrington, let's kind of dive into like the flexibility of the program in terms of pacing, class selection, required courses versus electives, the asynchronous, synchronous breakdown, that kind of thing.
Sure. As I mentioned, most of the students are in our 2-year format. That's a 48 credit program. You've got that core that's required of everybody. And then most of our electives are prescribed, and that's partly through a function of how we're able to deliver a broad spectrum of courses to folks in that asynchronous flexible format. There are several opportunities throughout, though, to choose elective courses, some of which are physically co-located either on a global immersion experience here in Gainesville or potentially a location around the country, depending on what the students choose. We also have some synchronous electives that people can choose that happen outside of their curriculum to give students a chance to make some choices into what they ultimately get as they get into those upper level courses. But for the most part, it's all cohort based. You come in with the same group of students, you meet them at our required physical orientation at the beginning of the program, and then you spend your educational journey with them. And if you have to slow down and speed up, you can definitely meet up with other folks to get that additional networking benefit. But for the most part, you know who you're working with, you know who you're studying with, you get to build those deep bonds that you would expect from an MBA program. And we definitely attribute a lot of that cohort to doing a lot of the contribution to that retention and graduation rate, which we have, which is north of 90% every 2 years, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Hannah, how about it? The flexibility at SMU?
Yeah. So, similar to John, we have a cohort-based model where we do want you to stay with that cohort. And I think just for all our listeners, like this is probably true for any cohort program. The reason we design it that way is because we want you to have the opportunity to build those relationships and opportunities to network with your peers. And so going through the program together is a huge benefit, because when you graduate that program, those are going to be the people that you are, like networking with, that help you kind of find your jobs, not right after graduation, but like 5 or 10 years later, right? And so those cohort things that you kind of hear all of us talking about, it's really intentionally built that way. We do certainly have the opportunity for people to slow down the program if life happens, you need a semester to a little bit slower for whatever it may be. So that is absolutely an option. But really the way that we structure our program is the first 3.5 semesters are core courses. So those are, chosen for you. And in that last 2.5 semesters, you have the opportunity to choose electives. And so, like I mentioned before, we do have a live synchronous class via Zoom that happens once per week for each class that you're in. That's a great opportunity for you to get to know your classmates. The asynchronous work happens between class sessions where you are preparing for that live classroom session. We keep our class sizes very small. So those live sessions are only about 15 to 20 students. And so when you're working in that asynchronous content in between class sessions, that's where you maybe listen to a recorded lecture, kind of learn the content, and then you come to that live class session for more experiential learning opportunities. So case studies, lectures from the professor not lectures, discussions with the professor about how that relates to what's happening in current events. You might do simulations or small group work. And so there is that mix of asynchronous and synchronous content at Cox.
Oh, very good. Thank you. And Steve at Purdue.
Yeah, so as I kind of foreshadowed a little bit earlier, is we are 100% online. We are 100% asynchronous as well. We are not a lockstep cohort program. Over 99% of our students are working professionals. So we run a carousel style program. And what we mean by that is we do allow students to take a semester off, come in and out of the program if needed. Now, the majority of our students are finishing their degrees right around that 2-year mark. And that's how our program is built, is with the intent of students finishing within about 2 years. But the carousel style allows for students to really have that flexibility if they're going through a job change, if they're going through some type of personal situation, if they're going through a busy season at their current workplace and they need to lighten their load a little bit. They're not going to miss out or have to push off their graduation because classes conflict with their personal schedule. So the flexibility there is great when it comes to how we administer our curriculum and how we advise our students as well. When it comes to class selection, I talked earlier too, I had mentioned our 4 foundational courses. These are going to be 4 courses that are taught right at the start of the program that are going to lay that data-driven mindset that I talked about earlier here today, and then move you into our core courses. And the core courses are going to be those general business courses that you are going to see in a lot of MBA programs out there. Students have about 9 to 15 credit hours to go ahead and to play around with when it comes to elective options. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself because I believe we're going to cover this later, but those elective courses can also be used to obtain a specialization and or a graduate certificate right within our curriculum too.
Great. Yeah, let's go right into concentrations then. Hannah, what kind of concentrations or specializations are available at SMU?
Yeah. I'm so excited to answer this question because last year when I was on this panel, we did not have any concentration. This year we do. So we have strategy and entrepreneurship as of right now. And, one of the things that I really appreciate about working at SMU Cox is just we do listen to our students and like the feedback. And so when we launched this program, we thought there was a need and a market need for just cohort-based lockstep, like here is the curriculum. But we really heard from our students, they wanted that opportunity to have concentrations and be able to specialize. And so really excited to have that strategy and entrepreneurship, and we are working on building some more. And so like I mentioned before, though, we do have 7 elective courses. And so if strategy or entrepreneurship are not kind of your main cup of tea, we do have electives that, span accounting, finance, marketing, entrepreneurship, all of those different things. And so you can kind of, take whichever electives feel like they are the most helpful for you in your career path.
Right, absolutely. Well, Steve, tell us about, the specializations and certificates at Purdue.
So right now, officially on the books, we have 4 specializations, but we're bringing on a 5th one here in 2024. And the specializations are in business analytics, global supply chain management, leadership, negotiation, and change management, and innovation and technology commercialization. The 5th one that we're going to be bringing on here in 2024 is within marketing analytics. Now, what specialization is going to allow a student to go ahead and do is focus their elective choices to gain a greater knowledge in a specific area of business that they have particular interest in. If they take those courses and they work strategically with their academic advisor, they're going to be able to parlay those courses into a potential graduate certificate, as the specializations themselves are only about 9 credit hours. With the remaining 6 credit hours that they have in electives, they could take a couple of additional classes in order to fulfill graduate certificate requirements, all within their MBA curriculum. So they could earn a graduate certificate, our students can, within one of those 5 areas, all built within the actual MBA curriculum. So they're not just being conferred the MBA once they graduate, they're also getting that graduate certificate that started with their specialization upon graduation, in order to differentiate themselves in the marketplace a little bit more.
Yeah, so valuable. And John, how about at Warrington?
Actually, we don't have concentrations, and I'll say right now, having done this for 25 years, we've gone through several iterations of should we or shouldn't we with concentrations. Our most recent foray into that was back in sort of the middle teens, and we figured out that a lot of times the students, no matter how attractive we made them, would say, well, just tell me which one I should take, or they'd choose whatever their friends were taking, both of which in a busy professional's world is a great way to solve a complex problem like what class do I take next, but not necessarily the best reason to take a class when you're getting an MBA. And so we realized that there was more value to most of our student population, as they were reporting out to us, to have that straightforward prescribed curriculum. They can choose a couple of courses, which gives them a chance to add some flavor, and they get some advising on how each of those courses may translate into career readiness or other opportunities they get along the way from experiential opportunities. But for the most part, they don't get any kind of a specific notation on their transcript. Now, like I said, we've done it before. It's not here now. Who knows what might happen in the future as we continue to explore our partnerships with the deep number of specialized master's programs that we have here at Warrington, as well as this technology continues to emerge. It's not unreasonable to think that anything is possible in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a couple of you have kind of touched upon the in-person opportunities a little bit, but let's go a little bit deeper. Steve, why don't you talk about some of the in-person connection opportunities for students with the Purdue Online MBA?
Sure, yeah, not a problem. We do have opportunities for students to connect here in person. We have opportunities online and virtually for students to network as well. But specifically when it comes to bringing students to campus, we do have social engagements to where students come back for tailgates or other campus events, where we specifically have them RSVP. We bring them in and have their own specific events and activities going on during homecoming. In particular, when it comes to our commencement process, we have both a virtual and an on-campus commencement for our students, so they're able to walk once they go ahead and complete their degree. Right now, for our spring 2024 semester, we're actually exploring a 4-credit case study opportunity potentially here for our students. We're fleshing out the details right now. I'm actually one of the leads on that committee, in which we are looking to bring in our students for a weekend to compete in some type of simulation, case competition, something within that realm of study for academic credit here on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. John.
So we, like I mentioned kind of earlier, the program begins with a required visit for orientation. And for the most part, that's a non-negotiable. Every once in a while, we'll have a military student who's deployed, who we work with to manage their schedule in that scenario. But otherwise, pretty much everybody that comes through the University of Florida Online MBA program has that singular shared touch point for the onboarding conversation. And as much as students sometimes in the admissions journey say, I don't want to do that, or I don't think that's great, to a person, when they come and they get to meet everybody, they feel the power of being together. So creating those opportunities Bringing students together is a big part of what makes any program go, especially in an online world where things are distant. So we've got that as our signature touch point in terms of the requirement. Beyond that, we have global immersion experiences that aren't necessarily on campus, but students can come together at a variety of locations around the world. And we hear a lot of online students that participate in that and extol the virtues of it. We've got a Washington campus experience that students can do through that consortium in Washington, D.C. And some of the students will do that and a global experience. So it happens in several different ways. We've actually got a really novel thing right now where we're teaching primitive decision-making skills in the Ocala National Forest, where students can come together and they spend a week in the wilderness. And I think a lot of people think that that's crazy, but I'm like, we've got almost 650 MBA students going to the online program. Surely there's a couple of them that want to spend their summer or their spring break outside in Florida. And that's proven to be pretty successful. So we continue to look for interesting ways to create that connection, to create that engagement across the online program, whether it's on campus in person or somewhere else in the world.
Yeah, I would like to spend a spring outside in Florida. That sounds
The
great.
bugs are really big, Ursula or Christy. Sorry, I gotta tell you, the bugs are really big. So
That would be a problem, I think, for me. Hannah, what about at SMU?
I don't have any wilderness schools I can talk about, John, but so we require 1 4-day long immersion at some point in the program. So this is one of our experiential learning opportunities where you are working on a real consulting project with a real company somewhere in the world. And we offer 3 immersions per year. So as a student, you just have to pick one of them by the time you graduate. We offer 1 in Dallas each year. So we do find a lot of our online MBA students who don't live in the DFW area do love to come to campus and work with companies here in DFW. But we also offer 2 international opportunities a year. And so, like I said, those trips are 4 to 5 days long, consulting experiences where you are working with your classmates on real business problems. So that is our main opportunity that is our only required opportunity to be in person. But then, like I mentioned earlier, for anyone who does live in the DFW area, if you do want to take electives on campus, you do have the opportunity to sign up for on campus electives.
Yeah, absolutely. John, what would you say are the key differentiators to the Warrington Online MBA?
Absolutely. The biggest one I think right now for us is we've been doing this for so long. We really feel like we've got the formula down. The ease of use in our experience is among the best out there, and we continue to benchmark with our peers. And there's a lot of really good emerging programs and technology coming into play, and that's very exciting. And we love having the opportunity to grow from a position of experience. We know some things that have worked. We've learned lessons from that. It's really a pretty powerful thing. And then the other part of that I mentioned at the jump was Florida's a big, diverse, populous state. We've got stuff from the Panhandle all the way down to Miami. We're talking about agriculture and tourism and space and defense and all kinds of stuff going on in Florida. And we really feel like we're positioned in a great place to bring that to bear in an MBA experience. And we continue to explore ways to bring that into our classrooms, into our experiential opportunities, and really into the fabric of what makes a UF MBA experience true to itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Hannah, the differentiators for SMU Cox.
Yeah, I think having access to the same faculty that teach our on-campus students, being able to come to campus if you want to, I think those small personalized cohorts, so keeping class sizes to 15 to 20 students, having that asynchronous material throughout the week, and then being able to come and discuss that real time with faculty. And then, one other thing that I just really appreciate about SMU Cox is our willingness to listen to the feedback from students. And so, like I mentioned before, last year at this time, we didn't have a concentration. We've now launched that. That's one example of how we have listened to students. Another thing is actually when we launched our program in 2019, it was actually a 27-month program. And we had heard from students that, they wanted to get through it faster. And so we were able to restructure it to be 24 months. And so I think those are just some of the things that we do like to be responsive to our students, and not just anything that anyone suggests, but when we are hearing consistent messaging from students. And then the last thing is, I'm sure we all offer career management services. And so we offer that actually for life as well. So, as an alumni, you can come back and we have those access to career services. So those are just some of the things I would mention here at Cox.
Oh, great. Thank you. And Steve, how about at Purdue?
Yeah, there were 2 things in particular that I wanted to touch on that came to mind when you asked this question. First of all, academically, we offer a selection of elective courses called our Frontiers courses, and they focus on different types of emerging things within the business space right now. One in particular, Frontiers in Artificial Intelligence, and the other one is Frontiers in the C-Suite. AI, as I believe we'll talk about here in a little bit, that is becoming a big deal in the world of business. But when it comes to the Frontiers in C-Suite course, we actually bring in CEOs from Fortune 500 companies to work with our students to answer questions, to pose to them different types of scenarios that they would encounter if they made it to that level of leadership within their career, as most of our students aspire to do. Another thing that differentiates ourselves from other MBA programs when it comes to the student services side is we actually have a team of student success coaches. And what success coaches do is they're going to be individuals that assist students with things that might not be totally academically related. When we hear success coach, sometimes people think, well, are they like my advisor? The difference between an advisor and a success coach within our program is an advisor is going to help a student with their plan of study, register for courses, plan their pathway throughout the program itself, where a success coach is going to be an individual that is going to be with the student along the way to help them through anything and everything that they encounter as an MBA student. So whether they are having trouble within the classroom and need to be connected to tutoring services, or maybe they have something externally that's affecting their performance internally within the classroom, our success coaches are there to just do that, coach a student to ensure their success, since our students' degree completion is just as important to us as it is to them.
Yeah, very good. Absolutely. Well, I think we will kind of just transition here into some of the, AI and other emerging technologies. When you think of AI and data analytics and how it, those things are changing, kind of the future of work in the workplace right now. What are business schools doing to, kind of respond to that? And Hannah, why don't you answer this one?
Yeah, that's a great question. One, I mentioned at the beginning, one of our pillars is data analytics. And I think you mentioned it, Christy, like there's a lot of conversations about data and AI. And it's really important to have integrity in data. And I think it's important to have integrity as we think about how we use AI. And so, that's something that SMU Cox is exploring right now. We have one of our professors, Steve Denson, who is actually currently working with the Harvard Business Review on developing a case for using AI in negotiations. And so he's doing research with them. But he's also actually in his negotiations classes, he is having students use AI to aid in their negotiations so that they can see how it helps and how it doesn't help. And so like, what are the ethical ways to use AI and where might AI steer people wrong? And so SMU right now is doing a lot of research in that with our professors, and then implementing that in classes to kind of show students like, hey, you can't just use this like without kind of thinking about it. And so that's kind of the main way that we've been thinking about AI right now. And so I think in terms of the question of like, how does that, how do students think about the future? I think it is just, asking a lot of questions, not just taking what they think might be an easy answer, but really thinking critically about how can AI help and what is the appropriate way to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve.
Yeah, so the way we have viewed artificial intelligence and how it is affecting the current workforce is, it's adding a lot of automation to a bunch of different functions that were done by people previously. And that is in turn enhancing productivity, not just through the automation, but also through the different types of data analytics tools that are available through AI in order to help make those data-driven decisions that I've been talking about here today. This is going to call for a whole new set of skills within our graduates. So some of the challenges that's going to pose for us as a program is, of course, curriculum adaptation. And that's where we kind of saw some of those frontier courses start to come to the forefront of our programming, and specifically our elective choices. Not just the curriculum development itself, but making sure that we're bringing in the proper faculty expertise in order to teach these courses as well. What some people may know is that Daniels is actually a brand new name to our college. We were formerly the Krannert School of Business here at Purdue University. But over the past year, we have gone under a complete change. The university has put a whole lot of resources and reinvestment into the newly branded Daniels School of Business to start to improve the curricula and to bring in additional faculty as well. Bringing in the proper faculty to teach our courses, and those faculty are up to date with current trends, especially when it comes to AI, is also going to make sure that we are in compliance and aligned with current industry trends too. So right now, what we're seeing as far as opportunities with those things I just mentioned are, maybe our ability to change some of what we're doing right now as far as our curricula go, offer additional specializations in AI, increase the skill development of our MBA students, and to continue to make sure that we have industry alignment, start to develop partnerships with the state and national industry to incorporate their perspectives and simulations and case studies into our curriculum as well.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting and exciting to kind of see Purdue kind of move forward in the next few years. And John, how about at Warrington? How are you guys kind of, adopting to these, new technologies to get students ready for the new workplace?
Yeah, when I think about technology in the future, it's hard not to think about speed, because that's really what's doing it, right? AI is making us more efficient, smarter. Business analytics is a core part of pretty much every business curriculum at this point, but like 8 years ago, that was the emerging thing, right? And nowadays, we've trained up a whole bunch of data scientists in the last decade, and now AI can do all that for us, right? So that's the kind of thing that really is intriguing to me when I think about what technology means and how that works. And I echo the comments of Steve and Hannah in the sense of part is how do you use it? That's the biggest question, right? In an MBA program, that's the awesome power that we have, is we're situated at that managerial level. We're talking about it across the board as opposed to going deep in it in one place or another, and helping managers understand how do you use it. I would imagine that we've all encountered AI every day in our everyday lives, right? Like admissions AI is out there to help us and business schools make better admissions decisions, and recruiting AI, and like it's everywhere. Career Services is using it now here at UF, as I'm sure it is at Purdue and SMU as well. And AI is everywhere. And so in a world where AI was the thing we didn't know about even 2 years ago, right before ChatGPT kind of really sprung it open into everybody's everyday lives, AI was out there. But how do you as a manager begin to bring those tools in to help your workforce make better choices, to drive value for your organizations? And that's really what we're trying to do at the MBA level. We're teaching classes in AI for managers and executives, and it's really about wrestling with the questions, not necessarily about what is a large language model, because you've got to understand that to get to the bottom of it. But it's like, what do you do with this? How do you use it? The integrity questions are a huge one. The deploying of it is important, and that's really what we're doing as well. And I think that's what everybody's doing. Anybody who tells you otherwise is missing the boat. So you should be looking for a program that's telling you how to use the tools that are there, because we don't need people to do AI. There's lots of people that are doing that now. We need people to use it to drive value, to enhance the critical thinking, and to answer the big problems that are out there for the world.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point and kind of leads to, the next question. Hannah, like, so what are, when you think, about the only certainty is that the workplace 5 years from now is going to be different than the one we're in now. Everything's changing so fast. So what are the skills that an MBA is kind of maybe, known for offering that are going to help people, move out no matter what the future of work or the workplace looks like?
Yeah, we have a professor here who always talks about being comfortable with ambiguity. Yeah. Like you said it, the only thing that's uncertain, like the uncertainty, right? It's like, you don't know how the workforce is going to change, and you have to be comfortable with ambiguity and knowing there's not always a right or wrong answer, or being adaptable and kind of seeing like what, whatever is thrown at you, you're comfortable in changing that. And honestly, when I talk to students who are about to graduate, I feel like the one common thing I hear from all like new MBA grads, right, their first year out of MBA, is they feel like they're doing things wrong at work. Like they just feel like everyone is like uncertain. And it makes sense. You've been in an MBA program for a couple of years where you turn in a homework assignment that has a right answer. Like you take a test and you're graded on it, right? And so a lot of our professors are starting to say like, okay, it doesn't matter. Like maybe there is a right answer and maybe there isn't, but like, what is your reasoning behind this? How are you thinking about this? And so I think students who can be comfortable with ambiguity and can think critically about the problem in front of them are going to be successful regardless of how the business landscape changes.
Yeah. Steve, anything to add to that?
Yeah, both the panelists here really did a great job at emphasizing the need for digital literacy and the need to foster problem solving and that critical thinking. To add to that, what we do here is we embrace, again, that data-driven approach and data-driven decision-making process. And we teach students to use those data analytics and insights to broaden their decisions and to really start to understand what they're working with, and to also continue to work with that data in an ethical manner, as we've talked here today as well. Another thing and type of perspective that our students come away with is more of a global perspective. Since we are serving students in our program from 18 different countries around the world, we try to instill a global mindset by addressing different types of business practices, international challenges in specific markets, and encourage cross-cultural competencies within our coursework in order to observe those diverse markets as well.
Yeah, very good. So for our last question, we'll start with you, John. Maybe if you would just, we're talking about the workplace is changing and everybody's jobs are changing, but also, obviously business schools have been changing at a record speed these last few years. What are you what's coming down the pike for Warrington? And also, maybe, what's your kind of closing argument for the school seekers out there who are going to watch this?
For sure. And not to sound overly cliche, but I think the future is now. I mean, if you look at this, you've got Florida and Indiana and Texas, and Christy, you're out west. I mean, this is the future, and this is what an online MBA is. And 10 years ago, when I was doing this, there were a lot fewer people and it was a lot harder to sell. But nowadays, it's like, if you're going to hire somebody, if you're going to go out there and look for talent, and you can get somebody who's in an online MBA program who has every other box that you check, they've already got competency to work across time zones with different people in these small boxes, right? They can create persuasive arguments. They have good digital presence. Like, there's so much power that you get just in doing the program in this format that heretofore would have been, potentially a liability in some way. But now the group has come to us in that. And so that's really excellent. And as I look at how business school is going to evolve, like, it's this. I think we're going to continue to move further and further into this world where barriers become even more invisible and distance becomes less and less of a factor. I like to believe in really crazy things. So I think in 5 years, these are going to be holograms as opposed to Zoom boxes. And we keep trying to do that. And our dean keeps looking at us like we watch too much sci-fi. And that may be the case, but it's that kind of thinking, right, that helps us all think about what's out there, because it's only going to get more and more. The distances become less of a barrier, and that's how I think we're going to evolve. And we're going to continue to add resources to support a world that's more democratic and a world that has less and less things between us. Steve mentioned global outlook and perspective, and I think that's a huge part of it. We continue to seek ways to build community in virtual spaces, and that's really the foundation of what we've been doing here for 25 years at Warrington in the online program. How do we make the ideas of an MBA available to everybody? How do we help you consume in a way that fits your lifestyle, that gives you the opportunity to realize your dreams, to create the career and life opportunities that you want, and do it in a way that makes you almost indispensable to the company that hires you right out of graduation, or that invests in you to get the degree, and even the third and fourth job beyond that until you retire? Because that's what we're trying to do here, is that lifelong preparation to give you the skills to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hannah, at SMU Cox.
That's such a great question. I feel like we just have made some changes in terms of, length of the program and the concentration. So we're continuing to work on the concentrations. I would say, Christy, when you initially framed this question, it's kind of like, for all these people that are listening, maybe one thing that I think, as you're considering an online program, I agree with everything that John said about like the ability, like, it's easy to connect with people and work remotely. And so online programs are becoming more and more common. What I would say is, as any of you listening to this are doing your research into which online program, like, know that there is a difference, and not all online programs are created equally, right? And like I think you've heard from my fellow panelists and I, like the intentionality in which our schools have put forth an online program, and sort of like the professors who teach it and the quality, that cannot be emulated at every single place that's putting an online program out. And so I would just say, like, as y'all are doing research, like, make sure, like, do you have access to career management services? Like, do you have access to a student advisor, a career coach, or all these different people? Like, what is the support going to look like as you go through an online program? And honestly, in admissions, we're on these panels, and I think some people think we're like these scary people who, like the admission side of it is scary. Like, as program directors, it's like, we just want people to have a quality degree and to come away from our school, like, feeling like they got the same education they would have if they were in person. So I would just say, for everyone listening, like, make sure that they're programs who have all these things, like, do your due diligence. And I think that's what I would say is most important to take away from this kind of webinar. And hopefully, as people are looking at their options.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve, last word for you.
Yeah, so I think some of the things that we're looking at as far as evolving as a program is one, how we deliver our programming. So there's been an approach, we actually have an executive MBA and a weekend MBA program here at the college, but we get a lot of students from those programs who say, hey, I would really like to take this online course. And right now, the way our programming is administered, we're siloed off. So we're looking to take maybe more of a hybrid approach. I talked about how we had our flexibility as far as the pace at which the student completes their degree within our program. We kind of want to move to a place to where we could give them that same type of flexibility in modalities. So when you're looking at the weekend program, when you're looking at the executive program or the online program, the way it's delivered, there's a lot of overlap, almost identical overlap, barring a few classes in curricula. So we want to be able to serve our students the best way we can by providing them with easily accessible classes so they can complete their degree in the time frame that fits them best. Another thing that we're doing, and I believe I mentioned this or alluded to this earlier, was again credential innovation. So when it comes to different types of credentials that students can earn, those micro credentials, those graduate certificates that I talked about earlier, continuing to develop those types of credentials to complement our MBA curriculum, to go ahead and to help those with an MBA differentiate themselves while giving them applicable skills that are contemporary in the marketplace right now as a professional.
Well, very good. Well, thank you all so much for your time and great insights. And, of course, as Hannah said, go to these school websites and dig in a little deeper for any of these schools that, you're interested in. And of course, thank you to all our viewers for tuning in. Remember that we have a lot more interviews and webinars like this with other elite programs on our YouTube page, our Poets and Quants YouTube page. So you should check those out to really get kind of a start to your research. And so I guess until our next conversation, everybody have the great rest of your day, and thank you for listening.